Algeria 50 years ago.
J'ai pensé que j'étais trahi. Eh bien, on m'a retiré ma Légion d'honneur. C'est le président de la République lui-même qui a dit qu'il fallait me punir de façon exemplaire. Voilà. I don't ask for forgiveness. Not a question of forgiveness. I did my duty. But I'm not afraid. I'm thinking that I would meet God and ask forgiveness, not at all. That's all.
In August 1971, the British government subjected 12 of its own citizens to interrogation practices derived from the communists in Korea. It was part of the British Army's response to growing terrorist violence by the IRA.
These people, so far as the army were concerned, was a military organization. And therefore, just in much the same way as the military organizations that had interrogated in Kenya, Aden, so it was felt at the time that these people should be put through an interrogation. The problem that they faced all of a sudden is they didn't like the big boys' rules.
Those selected for interrogation in depth had hoods placed over their heads and were flown to a secret army location.
We hear the helicopter sound, we drive toward the helicopter, the blades flying. They're going to throw us out of the helicopter, you know, they're going to take us up and throw us out of the helicopter.
The soldiers that were there were saying to me, you're going out here, you're going out here, you're getting killed here. We'll see how far we can get you to drop.
Watching was Ray Derrick, an army sergeant guarding the interrogation center.
The helicopter was hovering, maybe only a foot, but they actually give the guy a push.
And I'm taking him brought to the back of the helicopter, and I'm just throwing out.
He didn't know whether he was 100 feet up, 200 feet up, or 6 inches up. I thought it was amusing at the time. It's not so funny now.
And immediately seized upon, picked up, and I'm actually carried shoulder high. I believe in carried shoulder and passed through a window. And then brought in and up against the wall, and that was the start of 7 days of pure hell.
For a week, the prisoners were subjected to 5 specific interrogation techniques, most of which have been used in the current war on terror. Nick van der Bijl served with the Intelligence Corps in Northern Ireland. He was not involved with these interrogations, but he is familiar with the 5 techniques used. From the start, the hooded men, now in boiler suits, were made to stand for hours at a time in stress positions against a wall.
False standing is to reduce physical strength. We need to reduce that individual's mental ability and his physical ability to withstand interrogations.
Fingertips, toes, legs spread out. You try to step back off the wall to have a go. You were just simply battered, put back up again. And your arm just sort of froze. Your legs froze. Your back was strained. Your head went down. And then the noise started, the white noise.
And it was like an old television set that had ceased broadcasting but hadn't been switched off. So there was just that loud hissing sound.
White noise is essentially, it's a bit like a high-frequency radio that has a sort of mush, and if I go a bit like that, a little bit louder, obviously.
To disorientate the prisoners further, other sounds were introduced.
The worst one was the sound of a firing squad. Men in a loud voice giving the order to present arms and to fire. As well as that, there was sort of funeral music.
They were deprived of adequate food, water and sleep.
It is physically and mentally demanding to be deprived of sleep, and I need to keep that going in order that I can keep the shock of capture going. C'est la vie, that's the way it goes in an interrogation centre. It's not a nice place.
During this whole time, I was defecating and urinating in the boiler suit that whole week.
The humiliating conditions were part of a deliberate policy of softening up the men before interrogation. The prisoners were stripped and pictures taken.
I remember they took me out of the room, stood me against the wall in the nude and stood with his arm round me, and had himself photographed with me in the nude. You were being dragged down the corridor, the dogs would be howling at you. Number 8, say hello to that dog, you bastard, you. You know, say good morning to the dog.
A prisoner is a simple source of intelligence, as much as intelligence as a document or a photograph or a dead body or a piece of information that might come from a patrol. He's just a simple asset within that intelligence cycle, nothing more.
And they were asking you the most stupid questions. Like, you know, who's in the IRA? Who do you know in the IRA? I hadn't a clue who was in the IRA.
I felt rather proud at the time to be part of a small unit that was getting this information from bombers and killers and IRA sympathizers.
Even if it meant using torture?
Yeah.
I was starting to make up stories just to give them names of people about who were in the IRA. But they were neighbours of mine, people who I knew weren't in the IRA. I threw myself down, literally trying to break my neck. And when I was laying on the ground after doing it, I'd only hurt my head and split my head open, but I cried because I didn't die.
What was certainly effective was the end result, i.e. that those individuals were prepared to spill their guts to their interrogators. My understanding is that the IRA in Londonderry had been almost blown apart by the information that some of these people had given. So it became effective, extremely effective.
After 8 days, the detainees were transferred away from the interrogation centre. After the use of these methods became public knowledge, the British government banned them. They and the British Army had discovered that it was one thing to use these techniques against a foreign enemy, another to employ them against your own civilian population.
I would never dream now of doing the things that I did when I was in Vietnam. People don't realize that when you're thrown into a situation like that, into a war, you know, it's like they expect you to, 1 minute you're trying to kill the guy, and the next minute he's sitting in front of you, and you're supposed to ask him, "Sir, would you please tell me where you hid your weapon that you were shooting at me with?" It doesn't work that way. The brutality doesn't stop when the shooting stops.
UVC? Yeah, UVC. Huh? UVC?
Confronted by a different type of warfare in Vietnam, guerrilla fighters hiding among a civilian population, this time it was the Americans who were perpetrators of abuse, as well as victims.
We'll bring you back.
The Vietnam era was an era that was new and unique in American military history because the Vietnam War was a war